Hi guys, welcome to Shifting Gears, and with me I have the 2022 Royal Enfield Himalayan Scram 411। ये मोटरसाइकिल हिमालयन पे बेस की गई एक स्क्रैम्बलर स्टाइल्ड मोटरसाइकिल है। इस वीडियो में हम चलाने वाले हैं इस बाइक को आउट ऑन द हाईवे, एंड वी आर गोइंग टू टेल यू हाउ दिस बाइक परफॉर्म्स for your city commutes and also for your highway runs. We have a separate ride review video where we take this motorcycle out on a trail so that we can help you understand that although this is not a Himalayan, it is still a Himalayan Scram 411, so it does have those off-road credentials and it is a very potent off-road friendly motorcycle. So that video is also very important. You have to check it out so that you do not underestimate this Scram 411. Now first, before we start riding, let us talk about the engine specifications. Talking about numbers, इस मोटरसाइकिल के साथ आपको एक 411 cc सिंगल सिलेंडर 4 स्ट्रोक एयर कूल्ड विथ ऑयल कूलर फ्यूल इंजेक्टेड SOHC मोटर मिल रही है, which produces 24.3 bhp of power at 6500 rpm and 32 newton meters of torque between 4250 rpm plus or minus 250 rpm. इस मोटरसाइकिल की आइडलिंग rpm है 1300 प्लस और माइनस 100 rpm. इस बाइक के साथ आपको एक 5 स्पीड का गियर बॉक्स दिया गया है. यू डू नॉट गेट अ स्लिप एंड असिस्ट क्लच, विच इज अ मिसिंग फीचर इन माई ओपिनियन इन टुडेज डेट. This is still a long stroke motor typical of Royal Enfield motorcycles, so you have plenty of torque lower down in the rev range. Almost 90% of the torque is very easily available to you lower down in the rev range. The brand claims that their focus has been on the low and mid-range performance with this Scram 411. Talking about the suspension, इस बाइक के साथ आपको 41 mm telescopic front forks मिल रहे हैं. The diameter is same compared to the Himalayan, but the internals have been completely reworked. The spring rates have been changed. Also, this suspension is going to offer you 190 mm of travel, which is 10 mm lesser than the Himalayan. But the rear monoshock is going to offer you the same 180 millimeters of travel. Other big change which you will notice when you are riding this bike is that the wheelbase has changed. That is because first, the steering rake is steeper on this motorcycle. It is half a degree less rake angle, and also because of a 19-inch front wheel compared to the 21-inch wheel of the Himalayan, the gyroscopic effect is going to be lower. The rotational forces that you will feel are going to be lesser, and that is going to help you flick the bike from left to right much easily. And also when you are off the road, you will not have to counter the steering much. You will not have to fight this motorcycle as much as you have to on the Himalayan. This is a very capable motorcycle, and even the Himalayan is a very, very off-road focused motorcycle. The 21-inch front wheel is going to come in very handy when you are riding over really big rocks and boulders and hardcore off-roading. But for trail riding, this 19-inch rim is doing more than enough justice. Royal Enfield का कहना है that the gearing on this motorcycle is same compared to the Himalayan, no change. This long stroke 411cc motor has now been made Euro 5 compliant, and the fueling has also been tweaked. There are other subtle changes to the ignition as well, which will be carried forward on the Himalayan as well. All of these changes to the engine have made this motorcycle so much more refined compared to the previous Himalayan. But the new Himalayan is also going to feel a lot more refined now. So those are all the numbers, those are all the big changes, but that is just talk. Now let's start riding.
So guys, now let's talk about the riding bit. You know the numbers, you know the changes. 24.3 bhp, 32 newton meters, the same long stroke engine. Gearing भी अभी भी similar है compared to the Himalayan, but because of the changes to the front end of this motorcycle, this bike feels a lot different. This bike rides quite differently, and Royal Enfield का कहना है that this motorcycle is more focused towards the adventurous rider, but who still wants to spend a lot of time in the urban jungle. Today we are at the official media ride for the Himalayan Scram 411. So we are going to be bunched up together, and you will see a lot of Scram 411s scrambling around me in this video. Now Yazdi has already launched a scrambler. Ideally this motorcycle is going to rival the Yazdi scrambler, but let's today focus on how good or how bad or how different the Scram 411 is compared to the standard Himalayan. So today we are riding in Bangalore. We are riding from our hotel to Big Rock Dirt Park. We are going to experience this bike in its elements. We are going to do some trail riding. We are going to, off-road a little with this motorcycle, ताकि हम आपको ये बता सकें that this Scram 411 Scrambler is not just a poser, but it still has plenty of off-road credentials which the Himalayan has. And although the Himalayan is a more focused off-road motorcycle, this Scram 411 can also do quite a lot. So ऐसा नहीं है that if you are going to buy this Scram 411, you can't really go out and explore nature, ride into the wild. This bike can still do a lot, and for that we will have separate videos which you can check out. इस बाइक के डिज़ाइन चेंजेस के बारे में हम एक अलग वीडियो अपलोड कर रहे हैं, so you can check that out as well. Single cylinder, oil cooled, 24.3 bhp, 32 Newton meters. The weight is lower than the Himalayan. The front is a 19-inch setup. The front wheel is a 19-inch rim. अभी भी आपको spoked tube type rims ही मिल रहे हैं with this motorcycle. You are not getting alloy wheels, and you are not going to get alloy wheels even as an option, because Royal Enfield wants to stay true to the authentic DNA of a scrambler, and they want this motorcycle to still very easily be relatable to the Himalayan. So that is the reason why you don't get alloy wheels as of now, but let's see if the brand plans to add it through their MIY platform in the future. As you can notice, इस Royal Enfield Himalayan Scram 411 के साथ आपको एक part digital, part analog speedometer cluster मिलता है, and you also get a tripper navigation console. The tripper meter is an optional extra. No variant of the Himalayan Scram gets it as standard. आपको इसके लिए एक्स्ट्रा पैसे खर्चे करके MIY प्लेटफॉर्म से इस पार्ट को ऐड करना होगा. The speedometer cluster, as you can notice, it is similar to the Meteor, but there are quite a few elements, the internals of the speedometer, which are different. You can notice you get a black bezel around the speedometer cluster. You get a white backlit digital display, and all of this is very legible. You can very easily read this on your ride. आपको ज़्यादा मेहनत नहीं करनी होगी. Also, ये जो speedometer cluster है, यहाँ पे आपको gear position indicator दिया गया है. You get a clock, you get your odometer, you get a digital fuel gauge, and you get 2 trip meters. That's it. आपको mileage meter, distance to empty, ये सब features नहीं मिलते हैं, and you don't even get gear shift assist. So the bike will not prompt you to upshift or downshift to stay in an ideal gear. So looks good, but functionality could have been better, features could have been better. At least distance to empty should have been added. I really like that as a feature on any two-wheeler, and even scooters have started to get that feature now. So Royal Enfield needs to think about their data shown on digital displays. Now let's talk about the ergonomics. The handlebar is new, the handlebar positioning is changed, and it feels so much more compact, this motorcycle. ये जो Himalayan Scram है, it feels very very easy. So अगर आपने Himalayan try की थी, and if you think that motorcycle was, a little intimidating and that felt a lot more off-road focused, this bike, you will find that it feels a lot more city friendly and a lot easy to maneuver. I am having a good time, and today is my first day with this Himalayan Scram 411. Today is my first ride with this motorcycle, but still जैसे ही मैं इस बाइक पे बैठा था, I felt instantly at home, and I am finding no problems in the ergonomic department. मेरी height है 5 feet 8 inches, and you can notice I have both my feet flat on the ground. The seat height is very accessible, and this is a very comfortable seat as well. इस बाइक के साथ, as you can notice on the bike in front of me, you get a step up seat design, but you get a single seat. Himalayan के साथ आपको split dual seats मिलते हैं. The seat has a very nice feel to it when you touch it, and also the grip levels on the seat are fantastic. So when you are scrambling around town or when you are scrambling around a trail, the seat will hold on to you. Fuel tank जो है, it is similar to the Himalayan, but it does have those knee recesses, so you know you can grab onto the fuel tank whenever you are riding aggressively. Now this Scram 411 has the front end completely revised. तो आप देख सकते हो जो front frame थी, the crash frame, the protector bars are not there on this bike. Headlamp cluster पूरी तरह से revise किया गया है. You get a separate different looking fairing as well. You get different meters. The steering rake is steeper, the wheelbase has changed, and overall it is a very different looking motorcycle when you are on the saddle. The tail lamp, as you can notice, is similar to the Himalayan, but the tail end design has been changed. लेकिन exhaust जो है, it is still the same like the Himalayan. Overall, this motorcycle has lost close to 5 kilograms thanks to the front crash frame being removed. This motorcycle doesn't even get a center stand. That is an optional extra. So there are a lot of revisions that have been made to this motorcycle, and the weight reduction is not huge. I was expecting that this Scram 411 could probably weigh 10 to 15 kgs less, but the weight loss is not drastic. But because of the changes to the wheelbase, because of the handlebar being closer to you and lower, and the saddle height being just so accessible, this Scram 411 feels like an effortless motorcycle compared to the Himalayan. And Royal Enfield says that when you are riding this bike, because of all these changes, you don't have to fight the handlebar too much when you are riding this bike up and down a trail. That is also because of the rotational forces being low thanks to the 19-inch front wheel as opposed to the 21-inch front wheel of the Himalayan. As you can notice, we are at a toll plaza. Check this out. I am upshifting. I am very easily lugging the motor. No engine knocking, no hesitation. And typical of Royal Enfield engines, this long stroke motor also has plenty of torque. Almost 90% of the torque is available from as low as, I guess, 2000 or 2500 RPM, and because of that you can very easily stay in a higher gear at lower speeds, and you will have no problems commuting on this Scram 411. Out on the highway, check this out. I am in 5th gear and I am not going to downshift to make any overtaking maneuvers. Check this out. Just opening the gas, and this bike has enough grunt to pull through and pass slow moving vehicles out on the highway. And because of this motorcycle will be a good commuter. Right now I am at 80 kilometers per hour, and at 80 I am feeling no vibrations on the handlebar. There is a mild pulsation that I can feel on the foot pegs, but that's about it. No vibrations at 80. So for your city rides, for your daily commutes, for your college runs, 80 kmph is going to be effortless. So a good motorcycle for sure. And what I'm really liking is the seat. It is just so comfortable. Himalayan की सीट मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा पसंद है on an adventure tourer. I personally own a KTM 390 Adventure, and whenever I sit on the Himalayan, I feel like I'm sitting on a couch because it is just so cushiony. That is the same with this Scram 411 as well. The seat is super supportive. My entire bottom is getting good comfort. So, you know, I'm not going to be left with a sore saddle in just a few kilometers of riding. So as you can notice, I am stuck in Bangalore traffic. We are heading to the Big Rock Dirt Park. But overall, to understand this motorcycle, आपको ज़्यादा मेहनत नहीं करनी होगी, and moving it through traffic, it feels very, very easy. Now the overall geometry of the motorcycle, the parts that you see on the motorcycle, the dimensions, the wheels, the suspension travel, all of that is very, very adventurous, adventure friendly for sure. But this is a good city bike, definitely. Now the turn-ins might not be as sharp as a naked roadster, लेकिन फिर भी compared to the Himalayan, it feels a lot more eager to flick from left to right, and changing directions on the Scram 411 is definitely going to be a lot faster than the Himalayan, and that is going to make this motorcycle a lot more engaging to ride, especially जब आप weekend rides पे किसी घाट section पे इस बाइक को चला लोगे. So that you will definitely appreciate. Whenever you are going to commute in traffic, the thing is, the clutch is still on the heavier side. इस बाइक के साथ आपको एक slip and assist clutch नहीं मिल रहा है. So if you are aggressive on your downshifts, you know the rear wheel is going to lock a little and you will slide a little. If you like it, good for you. If you are new to motorcycling, be careful while doing so, because that can surprise you at times, especially if you accidentally downshift mid corner. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. The clutch release transition is quite smooth. It doesn't feel too jerky, but it is just that the gearbox could have felt a little smoother as well. If you have ridden the 650cc Royal Enfield engine, you would have noticed that the gearbox on that bike is very, very smooth. Compared to that, this feels a little hard, but it is still precise. In my review ride so far, I have not encountered a single false shift. The gearbox has not felt too clunky for my taste. So I am having a decent time. It is drizzling a little. I hope that the camera lens is clear so that you have a good view of what we are doing on this Scram 411. More riders passing me. We are out on the highway right now, and let me tell you that if you are going to ride this Scram 411 at 100 kilometers per hour, even right now I am not feeling any vibration on the handlebar, and even on the pegs there is just the same level of pulsation that you could have felt at 80 kilometers per hour. So no problem at all. And if you want to know about the top speed, I am just opening up the gas and trying to pick up pace at 110 kilometers per hour, and this bike will easily do 120 or 120 plus, but then you will need a long stretch of road to do that. But overall, if you want to go out on long highway tours, 100 kilometers per hour is something that you will do easily. And at 100, this engine is not feeling stressed at all. Beyond 100, roll-on acceleration is going to be a little slow because there is not much left in the motor to offer to you in terms of being at a higher speed. So plan your overtakes accordingly if you are already at triple digit speeds. But as a refinement point of view, I think Royal Enfield has done a fine job with this Scram 411. Over the years, ever since the Himalayan was launched, Royal Enfield has updated and reworked the Himalayan time and again, and all the refinement does show on this Scram 411 because it feels like a proper modern day product. Of course, it is still a Royal Enfield, so it is more of a old school motorcycle. It is true to the authentic motorcycling DNA. This doesn't have all the modern bells and whistles and all the electronic gimmicks. It is still you, the rider, doing most of the riding. And with that in mind, it feels quite good. Right now when I am riding on the highway, मुझे wind blast थोड़ा feel ज़रूर हो रहा है, because as you can notice, this motorcycle doesn't get the windscreen that the Himalayan does. If you want that, just buy the Himalayan. But I don't mind wind blast, because here in the Indian weather conditions, getting that wind blast is actually quite nice, so that you feel comfortable and cool on your rides. And also, this motorcycle is not really going to be high up in the triple digit speed range, so you will not mind not having that windscreen. Now, we don't know if that can be added easily as an optional extra, so you will have to check that out later. Talking about the suspension, the front fork diameter is still similar to the Himalayan. The rear monoshock is the same like the Himalayan. The rear suspension travel is still the same, which is 180 millimeters, but the front suspension travel is slightly less. It is 190 millimeters as opposed to 200 millimeters of the Himalayan. Ride quality is fantastic. It is brilliant. Right now when we are out on the highway, we are encountering some undulations on the highway, and this Scram 411 is just ironing it out very well. I am very comfortable on the saddle of this motorcycle, and also thanks to the seat, I am just super happy as a commuter on this bike. Now, thanks to the 19-inch front wheel and the suspension travel being a little less, ground clearance it has reduced by 20 millimeters, but the ground clearance is still more than enough and generous enough as per scrambler motorcycle standards, and the ground clearance is quite respectable when you compare it to other adventure tourers in the segment. So ground clearance के मामले में आपको कोई complaints नहीं होने वाले हैं, and when you ride this bike on a trail, when you go off-roading, when you are just commuting even with a pillion, you will not have to worry about scraping the underbelly of this motorcycle. Of course, you do get a protective bash plate which is going to protect your motor. ये जो Scram 411 है, it carries forward the Himalayan DNA. The Himalayan is a more focused off-road motorcycle, an adventure tourer. This Scram 411 is a scrambler. It is supposed to be a good city bike as well, and the suspension setup is going to keep you comfortable, but for dynamic riding you might be left wanting for more. So keep that in mind. If you plan to ride this bike hard, if you plan to ride this bike fast, make sure that you know your riding line well, and you notice all the undulations where your wheels are pointing, so that you stay stable on the saddle and you are comfortable and confident throughout your ride. As you can notice, at 100 kilometers per hour, very, very comfortable. And even now, this bike is just so easy to change directions. Compared to the Himalayan, this feels much quicker on its feet, and that is something that city riders will definitely appreciate. इस बाइक के साथ जो आपको ब्रेकिंग हार्डवेयर मिल रहा है, it is the same like the Himalayan, but you get dual channel ABS as standard and no switchable ABS as a feature. ABS is active at both ends at all times, and I am not necessarily going to complain about it. I appreciate safety features, and that is that. Braking performance is more than sufficient. I have had no problems in slowing this motorcycle down, as you can notice, as we are doing right now. The brake performance is more than what you require. It is adequate, and the lever feel is also acceptable. But if you grab the front brake a little too hard, thanks to the long travel suspension, you will feel some amount of nosedive. So keep that in mind when you are hard on your front brake especially. The rear brake also has decent stopping bite, so if you are not very comfortable with the front brake, you can apply more of the rear and then just modulate and feather the front brake. Combi brake feature आपको इस बाइक के साथ नहीं मिल रहा है, so there is no combined ABS that you get with this Scram 411. Coming to the tires, you get knobby pattern dual purpose tires with this bike. Decent grip and no complaints on our ride today, at least. It is drizzling again, as you can see on the lens, but the grip levels are more than sufficient. It is just that don't be too aggressive on your downshifts when it is such a situation, when it is drizzling, because the knobby pattern tires are not like your street tires, so your grip levels do vary. But my experience so far is confidence inspiring, and there is more than enough traction that I can feel, especially when opening up the gas and when trying to slow down this motorcycle. Coming back to the ergonomics point, the foot pegs are very mildly rear set. You can call it almost center set. You sit nice and upright. The handlebar is lower and closer to you compared to the Himalayan, but still this upright riding posture will not tire you at all. We are on a 70-kilometer road ride today. We spent some time inside Bangalore city. Right now we are out on the highway. I am not tired at all, and I am completely at home on this Himalayan Scram 411. The motor performance, if I have to define it in a very simple way, it is adequate and more than sufficient for the city. It has phenomenal torque for you to commute around inside the city. You can commute on higher gears at lower speeds with absolute ease. The torque availability is so good that even with a pillion, you will not necessarily have to keep ringing the throttle too much to pick up pace. And whenever you want to pick up pace, this Himalayan Scram, as you can notice on the speedometer cluster, is not a boring motorcycle at all. Now this bike doesn't get ride by wire. You still get a mechanical throttle cable, but the throttle on off transition is quite smooth, and when riding enthusiastically, this will keep you confident. So rolling on and off the gas, it will not feel like a jerky motorcycle at all. So that is also something that you will appreciate about this Scram 411. Today we can't really talk about heat management because, as you can notice, it is drizzling and the weather is quite pleasant. But the heating nature is going to be similar to the Himalayan. Not too much, not too troublesome, but if you are going to be stuck in traffic for a really long time, you might feel the heat a little. So far we have been riding it aggressively and the motor is not really feeling stressed. Throughout my review ride today, I have not noticed any uncomfortable or annoying tappet sounds. Of course, this is a brand new motorcycle. It has only done 165 kilometers so far, and as a product package, as product packaging, I think in terms of engineering, this is a job well done. Could this bike be a lot different compared to the Himalayan? Of course it could have, but that would have required a lot more costs, that would have required a lot more investment. And keep in mind, ये motorcycle जो है, it was designed and developed during peak COVID, so there were a lot of restrictions that even Royal Enfield faced while developing this motorcycle. And we are at the tail end of COVID-19 pandemic, hopefully, but still the motorcycle is ready to hit the roads. The 5-speed gearbox of this motorcycle will allow you to upshift and downshift without making use of the clutch. Clutchless upshift or downshift आप कर पाओगे. There is no quick shifter on this motorcycle, but you will appreciate those clutchless shifts because the clutch is on the heavier side. I wish that Royal Enfield offered a slip and assist clutch with this motorcycle. It just makes your daily commutes that much more easier, and your fingers are not left tired if you are stuck in stop and go traffic. So that is one feature which I would like Royal Enfield to add in the Scram and on the Himalayan. Now with the Scram 411, you are getting a modern meter, a modern speedometer cluster with the optional Tripper navigation module, but you are not getting a compass, and you are also not getting a tachometer with this bike. I wish that the tachometer still stayed, because why not? I mean, why drop a feature and add something extra? There should have only been something additional. But then that is what Royal Enfield thinks makes sense, so it is what it is. If I have to sum things up, let me tell you that if you are an experienced rider, what the Himalayan can do, you as a rider, you can also do it on this bike. You will have no problems on this Scram 411. It is just as capable. Now I can say that confidently because I ride the 390 Adventure on a daily basis, and I know that the package that I have between my legs right now, I'm talking about the motorcycle, this is definitely going to be very comfortable on a trail, and this can definitely do off-roading. And I think that because the bike is a little more easy in the rider's triangle, because it is a little more engaging in the rider's triangle, and because it is a little more easy to change directions, this will be more comfortable for you to play around than the Himalayan, because you will not have to fight this motorcycle as much. So that is what I think. If you have any opinion, do take a test ride and let me know in the comments below. It was drizzling a few moments back, and now it is nice and sunny, typical Bangalore weather, and I'm having a very good time on this Scram 411. And let me reiterate, the seat is just so comfortable that I am very happy on this bike. There is decent room to move around as well, so even if you are a tall rider, अगर आपकी height 6 feet भी है, आप इस बाइक को आसानी से चला पाओगे. The brake lever placement is also ideal and comfortable. It is not at all awkward. And between my legs, this fuel tank, as you can notice, if I want to hold on to it, it has very good knee recesses, so you know I can feel confident around corners if at all I plan to do that on this motorcycle, which is such a format, not really a corner carver. So guys, that is all that I want to share with you today from my first ride experience of this Himalayan Scram 411. I have liked the motorcycle so far, but we are going to encounter some trails and we are going to check out how good this motorcycle is when the going gets tough. But as a commuter and as a highway partner, it feels comfortable and it will keep you happy. Of course, if you want to ride fast, if you want to be higher up in the triple digit speed range, this motorcycle is not going to be very comfortable over there. But then when you are spending most of your time within the city, there the bike will shine because of the torquey nature. This long stroke high torque motor will definitely keep you happy on your commutes. And the suspension, it is just so absorbent. The seat is just so comfortable that you will live with this bike very happily. So you let me know what is your opinion about this Himalayan Scram 411. क्या आप ये मोटरसाइकिल खरीदना पसंद करोगे? Would you prefer this over the Himalayan? Or do you think this scrambler style, this scrambler proportion and body style is something that suits your taste better than the adventure tourer styling of the Himalayan? So goodbye guys, subscribe to the Shifting Gears channel, press that bell icon, always ride safe, always wear your helmets, and whenever you are on a weekend ride, whenever you are riding in a group, don't go racing with your friends. Stay safe, stay sensible, but whenever you do get a chance, open that throttle and have some fun. See you.